I'm sitting right here, it's probably a little better than it was.
You can both scoot in a little bit too, probably.
I'm gonna give a little scoocher to the right here.
I don't want to get too close to it if you're not, and then overpower you.
I don't want to get gay over here.
I'd rather us all be kind of equal. Like
this should be better.
Jonas's voice is overpowering everyone else, which probably will already happen. Snatch.
The movies of the 80s, as rated by Jonas. Here we go.
1980.
Are we going into it right now?
I mean, we could vamp a little bit more.
All right, hold on.
How was your day?
I think I should just get up off the hammock.
It's up to you. It's your house, man. If you want to.
Well, I want to relax, but then I'm like, well, I'm probably not going to be like, it's going to sound different if I sit up and like, paying attention.
Okay.
It's funny how that works. Like all the voice actors will all say that too. Like whenever they're acting out a scene, whatever it is, they have to actually like physically act it out, or else their voice doesn't match up.
So maybe I'll just sit up like this.
It could work. It could work. It's just crazy enough to try.
It might just be crazy enough to work.
So, as I was saying, my idea of a perfect sundae is actually one with ice cream, sprinkles, and just a little bit of chocolate sauce. No peanuts.
No penis.
We're not allowed to have that at work.
All right.
I'm shutting you down.
The last 40 years of horror. We're going to go through roughly 40 years of horror movies, right?
That is a lot of years. You know how many years that is? 40. An entire 40 years of horror. And not only do you get 40 picks, but you get 40 picks times 3. Because 3 men were crazy enough to sit down and look over the internet, the Wikipedias, and the IMDb's, and decide which movie would be the best for each year.
42?
Yeah.
Shut
up. Yeah. Justin's like, wait, we're starting over there? So, Justin's never been on the channel before. Do you want to say anything just to start off, or too much pressure?
He's just some dude. We found him on the side of the road. He was wearing a Halloween t-shirt, so we picked him up, and we brought him back and said, you know what? Why don't you be on this podcast that some people may or may not listen to at some point? So we're going to ask him some questions, just basic, how do you relate to horror? You're a lifelong fan.
He's like basic.
Autobiography.
Oh, man.
So, I guess I like the fun horror. I prefer the fun horror. I want to see people go have sex and do drugs and then die.
That is the way of the world, is it not? I mean, really, is that all we can ask for in a weekend?
See some titties and then we die, you know?
This needs to be on a tombstone, really.
Life's titties and then you die. Should we just get into it?
Yeah.
Or...
So we got the basic premise here. We're between myself, Jesse, and Justin. We're going to list off by each year, starting with 1980. And we're going to go up to present.
Okay, so here's how it should roughly go. Jonas, I feel like you should go first because, as Justin pointed out earlier today, we might have a lot of similar tastes. And not to say that we won't, but if Justin names the same movie I have, and we're both at the end, we can kind of cut in, yeah, that's what I had too, and go at it together. Whereas I think if you go first, especially since we're starting in the 80s and that's more your jam, that might work out best. And then we'll go to Justin, then I can go last. That way
good.
We're not fighting for who goes first every time or whatever. We got it all figured out.
Agreed.
And then if you say a movie, and even though I'm not next, if I also have that movie, I might step in and be like, yeah, that's also what I had.
All right.
Sound good?
So I'll just start off right out of the gate with one I've talked about on the channel before, and it's probably one of my all-time favorites too, because I invested in the Scream Factory release when they had a big special edition that came out. I want to say 2 years ago.
Oh no!
1980s Motel Hell.
I knew it.
Yes. You know it, you love it. Farmer Vincent's fritters. It takes all kinds of critters to make them. Basically, the gist of the movie is, for those that haven't seen it, and I don't want to do any spoilers just in case you haven't, but a brother-sister team run a out-of-the-way motel. And yeah, Justin's pulling up the movie poster right now and looking at it.
I'll be doing like a visual follow-along.
You might need to. Feel free to be on IMDb while you listen to this podcast and search up these movies.
I think you did a review for it on the channel.
I did indeed, and it's one of our lowest-rated videos because no one has seen Motel Hell. Awesome. And I'm here to change that. I'm campaigning for it.
Great.
But yes,
wait till the remake comes out.
Oh God, I hope not. But okay, so their brother-sister team's running a motel and also making questionable sourced meat products. Let's just leave it at that. So until you see what it's all about, I don't want to spoil anything, but a great old cult kind of horror movie.
Okay.
That's what I got for 80.
I can't believe that's your number 180.
Right out of the gate.
Oh my gosh. I'm already wincing at this. I know you love the movie, but that's your favorite 1980s movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
I guess that you're not claiming it's the best 1980s movie.
This is all personal.
But
we're not going with IMDb ratings here. I mean, we're going personal.
But if you put two and two together, if it's your favorite, it's also the best in your opinion. So like,
I disagree.
All right.
In a way, I think that it can be your favorite, and you could know that it's not the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's a couple on my list like that.
Okay, so what do you have for 1980, Justin?
The only obvious choice: Friday the 13th.
I saw this coming.
I mean,
I knew someone was going to pick it.
You basically described Friday the 13th in explaining what kind of movies you like, so I get it.
It's true, yeah.
Okay. And which is a big one, it's not a big surprise. And mine isn't a surprise either, but I like that starting off we all had something different. Justin, do you know what I had?
I assumed you had Friday the 13th. I thought we were all going to have Friday the 13th.
I had The Shining.
Oh, see, now I was toying with that one for a second.
I looked at that and I'm like, oh, I can see the argument for Friday the 13th, but The Shining is clearly the superior 1980s horror film.
Well,
and look at
not defined by sequels.
Just look at. I was about to say, look at all the sequels The Shining spawned. Okay,
I mean that's the point, really good, though.
But...
Like Friday the 13th has had to get a reputation through its sequels, not the first in itself.
No one expected it to do well when it first came out. The Shining having Kubrick attached and being a Stephen King novel, people already went into it thinking it was probably going to be a good movie.
Yeah. Friday
the 13th had an uphill battle. So I will give it a little bit to Justin on that one for being that underdog kind of movie.
I mean, I'm not trying to make a statement. That's the best one in my opinion. I want to point out some of the other films that I was considering. One was Friday the 13th, but also Cannibal Holocaust came out that year, which I hadn't seen until recently, but that was definitely left an impression. And then Prom Night was that year as well, which is
Prom Night,
one that I enjoyed. Unless anyone else has anything else on this year, we can move on to the next.
I'm ready for 81 here.
All right.
For my 1981 pick, bringing it back to some more obscure stuff again. I know you guys are all, what is it now?
I'm ready.
Okay, so it's not that obscure, and honestly, I hadn't watched it till about 2 years ago. I found a Blu-ray in a bargain bin at Menards of all places.
Not that obscure.
The best movie.
I know. It's Happy Birthday to Me.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
It's a good watch because I watched it with Zach, and even he could not figure out. Both of us were trying to guess who the killer was, and neither one of us got it. And it kept me guessing for most of the movie. And then when the big reveal happened, I'm like, oh.
Shish kebab.
Yeah, the movie poster is incredible for this one, too. If I get my chance to get like an actual movie poster sized one of that, I might actually go for it.
I could see Weird Al Yankovic doing this exact picture.
Yep.
Justin just did the gif that looks like Carrie Eloise blinking. Like the
I don't think that's actually him.
It's not. Okay.
So not too much more to say about that one. I don't want to spoil it because I know that's one that most people probably have not watched yet. But definitely worth checking out. Yeah.
Justin?
So, there's a pattern here.
Okay. I know
But
this.
in my defense, it is my favorite Friday the 13th, Part 2.
I'm going to step in and say that's also my movie. Friday the 13th Part
It's
2.
the best
Yep.
one.
I'll agree that it's a very... it codifies the series. As soon as we have Jason as the absolute unit that he is in that movie, going forward through the series, they can't replace him after that.
Sackhead Jason is my favorite Jason, hands down.
I'll say there wasn't a lot of competition this year, in my opinion. However, Friday the 13th Part 2 really steps it up for me. I do like Sackhead Jason, and it felt, I don't know, it felt a little bigger. Like, maybe it was all in my head, but it felt like the cast was, like, there were more victims, and, like, they upscaled it, and Jason was scarier.
Oh, they definitely upped the body count, yeah.
I was definitely going to say the cast was a lot bigger. It was like a whole... You got one of everybody there for every little group. And they were able to get creative with the kills as well.
Yeah. They even started out outside the park. It didn't even start at Crystal Lake. That was the crazy thing, and that's one of the only Friday movies that does that.
Oh, yeah, but they started that terrible trend of offing the final girl or, like, the final survivor in the next movie.
Yeah.
Well, she had some crazy fans in real life and didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah, but, like, so many horror movies, they're like, we can't get the other actor back, so let's just kill him in the opening, and I think that they should have kept it to the limited movies they did.
They don't do it enough where they just...
They don't do it enough.
No, not that. They don't do it enough that they just let the final girl or the survivor live and just don't mention them again. Like, they're just out there in the ether, and maybe they can bring them back in a subsequent sequel years or decades down the road.
Yeah, but now that's a thing. So
Ever since the Halloween stuff started.
That's not
Or you thinking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre
No.
thing?
Jesse, you want to say what I was thinking?
I don't know.
Scream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Okay,
big
yeah.
right now. But yeah, I mean, Sydney, yeah.
Well, I was thinking they were going to bring back...
Scream does do that, where they'll bring in a character and off them in the opening, like, for shock. But, like...
I was
they
talking about
haven't-
bringing back a character that they forgot about. Or didn't forget about. But
yeah.
It's
didn't
been
have in the
talked
last
about
one.
for years. Everybody that's listening to this already knows which character we're talking about without us even saying it.
I mean, I'm going to say it, the Kirby thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's going to be big. And if they bring her back just to kill her in the opening... myself, along with so many people, are probably going to be furious, but
you're going to watch it anyway.
they did it with Cotton in 3, and I think it was a mistake because he was one of the more interesting characters. But just on the subject of 1981, some of the other movies that caught my eye were My Bloody Valentine, which the film doesn't quite do as much for me as the idea of the killer. There were a lot of cliches.
It was a really good idea, but yeah, it just didn't get fleshed out enough and got edited so horribly in the first release.
Yeah, The Evil Dead, which I think controversial probably, but the first one kind of fell flat for me. But
Well, it was ultra low budget too.
But to be fair, as I probably mentioned on the channel, I watched them in reverse order. I saw the remake first.
That's right.
Then went back and watched through the old ones. And the original felt like the remake, but toned way down. And while I do like 2, the first one didn't really make it for me. And then The Burning was on there, which I did a review for on the channel. And I have not seen it, which is why it did not win. But I wanted to make a mention that there's a movie called Dark Knight of the Scarecrow that I have not seen.
I am surprised you haven't watched that
It
yet.
probably would have won if I watched it.
We need to get you a copy of that one.
Anything else on the movies you mentioned, or 1981?
Moving on to 82. And yeah, I'm probably going to be alone on this one too. What do you think?
I was just about to say this one for sure is all of us, we have to have the same one.
I can't believe it.
If we all went at the same time, like 1, 2, 3, it's going to sound like...
Ours will sound the same.
Well, he was thinking they would all be the same movie.
I know, and it's going to be
They're
one of
not.
those... It's not, no.
I say we do it anyway.
Go ahead, Jonas.
Okay, I'll just start it out, get it out of the way. My 82 pick is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Okay, that's one that a lot of people like.
Unacceptable.
It's because the great Tom Atkins, Tom motherfucking Atkins, who I got to meet, by the way.
He goes to all the cons. I've never met him.
Really
never had
nice
a reason
guy.
to.
But he stars in this one as just an absolute Chad. Like, he is awesome in this movie.
Wait, that doesn't mean awesome.
I mean,
like a Chad?
Sometimes it does. I'm just saying, sometimes you need a Chad in a horror movie.
Yeah.
But, okay, so he's investigating a mask factory that the masks, as soon as they get a certain signal, they pretty much kill children. So
that's why he loves it.
Yeah, to prevent
Anakin.
This huge, child death spree to happen on the next Halloween, including his own kids, he has to stop the signal and get to the factory. And now, this is a really controversial pick because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it.
Right.
And everybody lost their shit when it came out, including my man Joe Bob Briggs still hates this movie with a passion. Does not ever want to air it on his channel. Because
That's
he's
weird.
like, it's a stupid movie. He's like, and him and Tom Atkins are in this long-standing feud over this movie, and him not showing it.
Oh,
He even told me when I met him, like, well, you tell Joe Bob if you see him, I've got a knuckle sandwich for that son of a bitch.
That's great.
All right, I'm kicking it over to you guys.
I'll fly in here.
Go ahead and say it.
I'm going to assume Jesse has the same one. We did grow up together and watch a lot of the same movies. This is one that is in, my metaphorical top 5 horror movies of all time. This is just classic, one of the greats. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, that's what I had. Because any logical horror fan has this as their best 1982 movie.
I'm looking around to try and find all the rest of the logical horror fans in this room.
This is my go-to movie for when I think about people talking about their kids, integrating them into horror, and I always try to remember how old I had to have been when I was repeatedly watching this and never once was scared by it, but just
Probably
loved
too
it.
young.
And I can't say much because my mother let me rent rated R movies when I was 12, and just that's how I've amassed as many watches as I have at this point. But, I mean, if I was a parent, I can't really say what I would do in that situation. 12, 13? Where's, the right age to let them start watching this kind of stuff?
I think it's all about perspective, and it depends on the kid and how old they are when they're able to understand that it's just a movie.
Which they clearly didn't look at when they let us watch it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, John Carpenter's The Thing is a classic. It's a great...
I definitely agree.
There's not a lot that we really have to say to explain why The Thing is great.
I mean, if you're listening to this channel and you haven't watched John Carpenter's The Thing, shame.
You just rolling them. Shame. All right.
It holds up to this day still.
Yeah, definitely.
I would like to point out.
Yeah. I just want to say, to your credit, Jonas, I haven't seen Season of the Witch. That's what it's called, right?
Right.
And so it wasn't an option for me to pick. I want to say, really the only other movie I considered in this year was Poltergeist. And
it was? Yeah, that's right.
Compared to The Thing, though, Poltergeist is nothing.
I love Tobe Hooper's movies, and I do think he was a really underrated director, but when it comes down to between those two powerhouses, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's got to be The Thing.
Yeah. One last note that I wanted to make it a point to bring up. I have here written as word for word, thank God Friday the 13th Part 3 isn't the only one I've seen in this year. Because I really did not want to pick Friday the 13th Part 3. But I remember looking and I'm like, I haven't seen any of these other movies. I really don't like Part 3. Don't make me pick it.
Go do what I did. Where I have a couple where I just decided to pick none.
Well, I
option.
figured in considering the best, you have to, even if it's not great, it's still the best one you've got. So that's the mentality I had in picking these. But that's it for 82 for me.
We're moving on to 83.
I want to start this one.
All right. You want
because
to?
I already just said that I chose none. I put a couple honorable mentions, and I still only really honorable mentioned ones that I have seen. But I put Jaws 3D and Mortuary.
Okay.
I remember seeing Mortuary on the TV, and like I always used to think about it, and I never knew what it was.
That's
until
funny.
one day I knew what it
actually
was.
seen Mortuary.
It was on accident.
That's so funny to me because I only watched that for the first time like just last year.
And it still didn't win.
Oh no, it's horrible.
Oh, okay.
It's the movie I was telling you about with the weird guy that was on the tombstone at the end of it. That's the same guy as like from the beginning of it.
Oh,
and
okay.
it just made no sense.
That's the one with the black dripping in the house, correct?
I'm gonna laugh if you're not even thinking of the
It
right
might not
movie.
even be the same one you're thinking of.
He's got the wrong movie. No, there was a later. I don't know if it's a different adaptation of the same film or just a different film with the same name. But like the grout, like there's like black grout going on the. That's a way later film. That's a different film.
The search continues.
You're thinking of the Tobe Hooper Mortuary that came out in 2008 or
Probably,
2007? Because I was looking through the list and I saw that. I'm like, I forgot that was a Tobe Hooper movie.
If you don't mind, since I don't have a lot to say here either, I'll go next.
Go ahead.
In the same vein of Justin, our conversation we just had, I do have a pick, but it's only out of elimination because this was the only one I had seen in 1983, and that's Sleepaway Camp. And I'm not a big fan of this movie. Again, I reviewed this movie on the channel. So you guys probably already know what I think about it. But it was the only one I'd seen, so it wins. And now I leave you, Jonas.
Well, you know, you need a mangled dick expert to really tear that film apart. You really need to get into the meat of it sometime, but I digress. My 1983 pick was actually a tough one for me because I did like several of the movies that came out in 83. But I decided to go high class on this one instead of low class like some of my last couple. I'm going with The Dead Zone, starring Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Now, I know you guys haven't seen this movie yet, obviously, or else you would have picked it. But Christopher Walken as a younger man, like, I think he's mid-30s when this movie was made, so he looks a lot different than you remember him. Basically the story of a guy who gets in a bad car crash. That's the remake. Justin's looking at the wrong wallpaper right now. Yeah, now you got it. So basically a guy gets in a car crash, and when he wakes up, he has the ability, when he touches someone, he can see their immediate future and whether or not they're about to die from an accident or if they're about to cause some calamity, he can stop it. Well, he makes the mistake of shaking hands with a politician and sees that politician ending the world through nuclear war. So now he's on a mission. Okay. I'll leave it at that. You guys should check it out sometime. I know it's an older movie, but it really holds up.
It's very Stephen King.
And it's very salient to today's political climate. Like, if people watch it
stay
now...
away. Stay away from it.
Maybe don't... You might get put on a watch list if you rent this movie. I'm just telling you now.
All right, well, you can go ahead and go into the next one because we'll get back in order here.
I think I should lead into this one because 1984, believe it or not, is my birth year. So I have to make this one a passion project for me. Of course, I'm talking about 1984's The Toxic Avenger.
No. Oh, I'm
oh, no.
Okay, I know
what
you guys.
What have I done?
Hold on, because I know you guys can't see what's going on here. But I'm like making serious eye contact with Jonas, and I'm like, okay, he's picking a legit, obvious answer here for this one.
This is a legit, obvious answer for this one.
Okay, go on, Jonas.
Mr. Lloyd Kaufman doing it big on one of their biggest movies they had made up to that date, The Toxic Avenger, the story of a 98-pound weakling tossed into a vat of toxic waste who decides to fight back.
I want you guys to know there's no eye contact anymore. I can't look at him.
I have seen this movie.
You actually did watch it?
Yes. Our friend Jake Schmidt went with us to a convention at, I believe it was Motor City Nightmares, because he was going to be there, the director and creator.
Oh, yeah,
Lloyd Kaufman.
And he convinced me to watch it. so I did.
That's all you're going to say about it.
They have action figures of that guy.
Oh, yeah. This is half the reason that I picked it. Full disclosure. is because as a child, I actually had Toxic Avengers action figures. They had legitimately, they had a cartoon show, you can look this up, called The Toxic Crusaders. That was the kids show cartoon version of the Toxic Avenger.
Okay.
Only Mr. Lloyd Kaufman would think of marketing like this, where you could turn an adult horror movie into a kid's cartoon. Brilliant.
It's a very Jonas pick, and that's all I have to say about that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Justin, what do you have?
I'm just ready to get out of the 80s so I can stop picking generic movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You picked A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, what else was I going to pick?
I also picked A Nightmare on Elm Street,
of course.
But it was a really hard choice for me. I almost actually picked Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter.
Why?
That is a good one.
This is one of the few things I did talk to Jonas about already. I had trouble between these two movies because Nightmare on Elm Street is at its best and it's original, and Friday the 13th is at its best, in my opinion, in Part 4. So like the final chapter was not only my first Friday the 13th, but it's like the pinnacle of before they supernatural it and just kept going even though they finished it. That was like the finish of the series. So I think that one's really good. I did pick A Nightmare on Elm Street because it's great, but I'm surprised that you were, no question, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I'm very off-put by that.
Oh,
you
really?
know that I like Friday the 13th better than Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, that's why
But I think that the first two Friday the 13ths are like the pinnacle and best forms of it. I think that as it goes on, it gets worse and worse.
It does, with the exception of 4, I think.
So, 3 and 4 are technically a double feature, because I was talking to Jesse about this at work the other day. They happen in the same day.
I don't think they do.
They totally
we had this
do.
conversation.
Anybody wants to fact check me on this one, prove me wrong, but
because
they happen in the same day.
Because the hitchhiker in the daytime in Part 4 gets killed on the side of the road, and Part 3 ends at night, right? So it's got to be the next day.
Part 3 ends in the daytime.
Does it?
Yes. The next day when they're picking up all the bodies and stuff, and the ambulance is taking away Jason's body, that's when it ends.
Okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. Makes me question it.
But I agree that is probably one of the best ones. Because, little Corey Haim hacking Jason to death with his own machete. That's one of the most memorable scenes you can get. The beginning of Tommy Jarvis.
The part I can't forget is the guy that gets shot in the junk with the spear gun.
The kid that played Jason, who'd you say that was?
Corey Feldman? Yeah.
I hate that kid. I knew it was him. I can't stand him.
So you don't like the Lost Boys much?
He's going to be at Pierre's in Fort Wayne, and the first comment in the post was, "What's he going to do?" It's just him making a weird face.
I mean, I think he was kind of like in a couple bands and stuff in the 80s and 90s. I can't really say for sure.
I don't know.
If they said Paris Hilton was going to show up, the first comment would say the same thing. What is she going to do? Get naked?
Get head.
All right. I knew. I'm like, this is Jonas. Why would this is going downhill fast?
Moving on to 1985.
One last thought on 1984 was just Children of the Corn was also that year.
Yeah, that's true.
I know that it's not the greatest movie, but it's one of the big ones, so I wanted to give it an honorable mention.
You know, I refer to that one as He Who Walks Behind the Movie Aisle.
All right.
You don't ever see that one anymore.
Go ahead, Jonas. 1985.
All right, going on to 1985. This is another one. The hell was that?
Bowling for Soup.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the soup.
It's a Texas thing. Anyway.
All right.
I know I'm going to be alone in this and probably the rest of my picks. If maybe when we get into the 2000s, you guys might be on the same page as me, but for right now, I'm dead set. You guys are not going to have the same one.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Reanimator?
No, but that was almost going to be my choice.
All right, go
Melting
ahead.
Face Man.
Well,
That's the one, isn't it?
It is a melt movie.
All right, go ahead. Melt Man.
Jack Frost.
It's The Stuff.
All right.
You never have enough of the stuff.
Again, I haven't seen it, so it wasn't an option for me.
So, it's a good old story about American consumerism run amok and greedy corporations that just don't give a crap. So basically, somebody finds the stuff emanating from the ground, unsure of what it is, but decides to give it a taste.
Justin's looking it up.
This girl looks like the Pink Power Ranger, the original one.
Oh yeah, a little bit. But that's not even the poster or anything for it.
No, it's just...
But yes, so they decide to market the stuff, but it turns out it has a few strange side effects, such as possibly being a sentient creature.
Erectile dysfunction.
And that too. The ED just puts everyone off of it, and then they all live happily ever after.
Cool.
In the stuff.
Good ending. Anything else, or?
Really, that's all I wanted to say about it. I don't want to take up too much time on my weird, off-the-wall movies that people may or may not look into after this.
I have heard of this one, so there is that. Justin? What do you got?
A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
And again,
Really?
I have the same pick. Although I was debating Reanimator, but really I hadn't seen Reanimator until like last year or something. And while I really did like it, I think I have more nostalgia for Nightmare 2.
I'm just surprised you both picked a gay movie.
I mean, what you think?
What?
You think we hate gay movies?
I'm just saying, like, Freddy's Revenge is such a gay movie. Like, okay, you can't tell me that everything that happened in those showers and at the leather club, like, that's all straight.
I don't think sexual preference takes the front and center when I'm watching horror movies. Like, I don't really care.
That's probably the best answer you could go with.
No
pressure here.
I will kick off 1986 with another
None.
I put... See, if you forced me to pick, I would say something generic like Aliens, but I really don't care about Aliens that much. I know that's like a solid, like everyone's like, Aliens, Ripley's the beast, you know? But I don't care. Jason Lives.
I'll say...
I just put none because I didn't really feel like any of them stood out as like, this is a phenomenal horror movie.
I'll say Aliens is notorious for being the less horror of the series. Like, it's more of an action flick. So
Action sci-fi or something.
I get that. Jonas, did you want to go next, or you want?
You go ahead.
For this one, I had a solid pick of April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah.
That was one that I saw later in my life, but I really dug it. And I don't have a lot to say about it other than that's my pick and I stick by it.
It was good. No,
Yeah.
I just watched it for the first time last year. I'm catching up on more and more older movies lately, and that one had me surprised a couple of times. And I liked that it was so lighthearted. Yeah, I know. And to look at it, you wouldn't think.
It's the lead is the actress from Friday Part 2, right? The survivor girl from Friday Part 2.
Amy Steele?
I think
I met her.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you only... Justin.
I never
now
watched.
You gotta watch it.
I've never even heard of this movie.
I haven't.
Everybody's getting a little education today.
All right, so if you want to go ahead with yours, feel free.
All right. My 86 was From Beyond. H.P. Lovecraft inspired. It's got the same actor from Reanimator, Jeffrey Combs. So in this one, they play a... that's not it
Justin's
either.
laughing.
There you go. That's it.
Oh, okay.
But basically, they're a team of scientists that invent a machine to be able to see into other dimensions. But the problem is, when you see them,
they see you.
You know what? When you said Reanimator and I said the melty thing, I think I was thinking about this movie.
Yeah.
It was on in the break room a couple years ago one time, and I seen it where he licked her face and everything.
Yeah,
and he like melts and explodes.
And I mentioned something like, "Oh my God, From Beyond is on right now."
I think we must have been in there at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be my pick. It's a really enjoyable movie. A little too horny for its own good, but a
lot of horror movies are. Am I
really,
right?
I mean, horror, horny. It's almost the same.
All right. Well, is everyone gonna have the same 1987 movie before we begin?
No.
All right. Go ahead, John.
My 1987 pick is the wonderful Blood Diner.
Oh my god.
So, Blood Diner is about a pair of brothers.
Two brothers
in a restaurant murdering
Brothers
women
Creek.
to summon an Egyptian elder god. Yes.
That sort of thing. All right.
And it's off the wall. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. And I love it because the bad guys win.
Spoiler.
It's wonderful.
That's not wonderful.
It's
That became the cliche ending.
After movies like this was one of the first ones that did it, but it was still it's a hilarious movie. I mean, it's gory as hell. It's one of those that if you would have told me that, Herschel Gordon Lewis directed it, I would have believed you.
Do you think I should watch this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I would recommend it to most people, but I think you're gonna watch the opening and go, "This is dumb. What's going on?"
The guy on the poster here looks like a mix of Morbius and like an 80s rock band guy.
I think they were kind of going for a 80s metal vibe on that one.
The two are one and the same. Justin, what's your movie?
I put Predator.
Predator, okay.
And I don't know if you guys would consider that a full horror.
That's not surprising, though.
I would put it in the same vein as Alien, a sci-fi horror.
And then, honorable mention, Hellraiser. I do like the first Hellraiser.
I don't, seeing as how I didn't have any mention of it.
I know you thought it was really gross.
Yeah, a lot of movies, if they just gross me out and don't really do much else for me, I don't care for them.
I liked it. I enjoy the first two Hellraisers even. I thought the second one was pretty good.
Oddly, I liked the space one, but I can't remember which one that was.
Bloodlines, I believe. But yeah, that was a good one too. When that could have been an ending to the series, and it would have been fine. But then they just kept making more.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a bold statement and say that I picked the only logical answer, which was Evil Dead 2. And nobody else...
I love Evil Dead 2.
But not as much
as I love Blood Diner.
Oh, well, Blood Diner beats out Evil Dead 2 for you. I also... That was the year that Nightmare 3 came out, Dream Warriors, which has a lot of iconic Freddy stuff in it. Not the best movie as a whole for me, but a lot of good deaths and a lot of cool things. And
I'm gonna make a bold claim right now, but Nightmare 3 is like the Walmart of horror movies. It's like everybody
what does that mean?
Everybody has seen it. It includes like every trope of almost every horror movie. And it's just like it's the most easily accessible like horror movie for anyone to get into, even if you haven't seen any of the other ones. You could just jump right into Nightmare 3 and everybody knows what it is. Not to mention, it has a definitive end of the series point that it could have used. And it starts off as like a point where you could be introduced to it as the beginning movie, and it works. Like
We're not going to do that, though.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
I also wanted to bring up the Gate. Justin, do you remember The Gate? That's the year The Gate came out. It's a movie that somebody threw on or was on TV that we had no idea what we were getting into. And it's like a bunch of little demons attack these kids when their parents are out and they're home alone.
They come out of the ground in the backyard.
Come out of a hole in the backyard, and it's like a opening of hell.
Now that does sound familiar.
And they invade the house, and there's this part that I remember from it that really creeped me out because the parents come home and it's like, oh, they're saved, and they're like, oh, we're here, and then their faces start melting away, and it's not really the parents, and it's really creepy.
Doesn't one of them fall over and then they turn into 50 of the little demon things and they run away?
I don't know. I don't remember that part, but that was a good one, and I wanted to bring that up.
Childhood trauma unlocked.
It sounds like a kid's horror movie.
I think it was one of those borderline horror movies. Yeah. And I also wanted to say a movie that I haven't seen yet, but I've been wanting to see for a long time and just haven't gotten to it, came out that year, and that's The Stepfather. So, who knows where that one would have been.
I've seen a lot of the stepmother movies, but none of the stepfather ones.
Well, I think that's a different...
It's like, lots of steps.
Why does this set look so familiar to me?
That's it for 87 for me.
All right, I'll jump right back over onto 88.
Jonas, why don't you just let us know when you have a movie that is
not
a movie
obscure.
that everyone might...
Not until 92 at the earliest.
Oh my god.
I'm going to make the bold statement that until 92, and after 92, it probably won't be till 96 again.
Can I guess yours?
Oh, go ahead.
If this isn't Pumpkinhead for you, I don't know what you're doing.
It is not.
You love Pumpkinhead.
I do, but we were just talking about this one at work the other day.
Okay, let me make one more guess. Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
No.
Alright, go ahead, because I don't know.
Frank Henenlotter's Brain Damage.
Okay.
Of course, Frank Henenlotter.
I don't know, this guy's going to have no idea who Frank Henenlotter is, as most of the people listening to this probably also will not know who this man is. But he made some amazing films, like Basket Case. And
Frank Henenlotter what?
Frank Henenlotter. That's his name.
Yeah, what's the movie called?
Brain Damage.
Brain Damage.
He's looking it up.
But yeah.
This must have been a tough year for you.
It was.
A lot of your favorites.
A lot of these posters look like... This is very Stranger Things writing. I'm pretty sure that's the exact writing that the Stranger Things uses.
Yeah, that's a new poster.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a poster that somebody marketed using the Stranger
Yeah,
Things.
Yeah, that is exactly
Alright,
what
is this
that
the
is.
original?
Yeah, that's more like it.
Alright, well.
But basically, it's the story of a strange worm-like creature that attaches itself to the back of people's necks and doses them with a euphoric drug that they easily become addicted to. And when they don't get it, they become hyper-violent in trying to find the worm to get their fix back again. And yes, that's the worm he just pulled up a picture of.
I remember seeing some clips. I think you might have used some footage in a compilation video you put together for the Halloween party or something.
Yep, you got it.
It looks so familiar, but not at all for the right reasons. I'm trying to think of what this guy looks like.
You're thinking of your stepmother video again, Joss. You got...
What does he look like?
Yes, they're looking at pictures of Almer right now.
Let me see.
You're probably thinking he looks like a cross between a weird Muppet and something that crawled out of a drain.
Like a... Yeah...
I'm getting so close, but I'm so far away.
And you know, I do want to say, I do love Pumpkinhead. I love Stan Winston and everything that man has done. And I hate what that series turned into later with the third and fourth iterations of the films that I won't even speak of. But yes, Pumpkinhead was a great movie too. It was hard for me to choose on this one.
I think I'm thinking of like some sort of doctor from like Nightmare Before Christmas or something. So some sort of dog-looking brain thing. That has
the
like
doctor.
The doctor had the really long lips.
But he kind of reminds me of this guy.
I can
It looks like King
it.
K. Rool from Donkey Kong Country.
What?
King K. Rool,
He looks
the
like
villain from
he
Donkey
looks
Kong.
like the Goomba from the Mario Bros. Movie.
All right,
We're gonna
that's
spend
true.
an hour and a half talking about what Almer looks
All right,
like.
Justin, what's your 88 pick?
Child's Play.
Okay, I had the same thing, of course, because Child's Play, man. Go ahead, Justin. Do you have anything to say about it? We don't really have to say anything.
Yeah, I mean
about
it's
it.
Child's Play. Everyone knows what it is.
Everyone knows our buddy Charles Lee Ray. He gets down.
It's just one of those where they nailed it in the original.
Really?
And that's it. I guess we can move on then to 89.
All right, 89. I'll go out of the gate again here, and I know 89 was another pretty strong year. They had some good contenders in 89.
I disagree, but go on.
I went with the Brian Yuzna classic Society, and that is one of those movies that you can only really watch it once and get the full effect that movie delivers. Just that big roundhouse punch in the last act.
And that's your pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
The less said about that movie, the better. Trust me. If you don't have a strong stomach and or do not know who Brian Yuzna is, I'm what Frank Hennelatter's brain.
I'm trying to ask you what the movie was.
Society.
Yeah.
Just called Society.
That's all it's called. It's just Society.
You can ask. It's not a big deal if we hear your voice on the podcast.
Another person ripping their face off.
He's really into that.
He loves it.
He loves it when they rip their face off.
Oh, you should see the cover of the special edition I have.
Or you shouldn't.
You probably should not.
What's your movie, Justin, for 89?
So, this is the third
None.
out of 4 that I have that's none. And I specifically put not honorable, but dishonorable mention, which is Dream Child and Jason Takes Manhattan. The worst of the worst.
It's funny because I have a complimentary statement to make. I have here, my pick is Pet Sematary, which isn't one of my favorite films. I think the original's actually kind of goofy, but there weren't a lot of picks for this one for me. And I have in parentheses here, I refuse to give it to Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. So... do with that what you will.
You know, I'll defend Dream Child a little bit.
Honestly,
only because I had it as on a VHS as a kid, and I watched the crap out of that one.
Honestly,
that's the one where they have superpowers, right?
No, that's Dream
Warriors.
So
that was 3.
Oh, my bad. That's the one I hated.
Dream Master.
Dream Master was 4, and that was...
one of them's terrible and has the karate scene. Jason fights the karate kid. Or Freddy fights the karate master kid.
I want to say that was 4. Number 5 was the one with the comic book character that had like the dual wielding guns.
Okay.
And the motorcycle that the guy turns into. I feel the need for
the cockroach
speed.
one.
That was also 4.
And this is
So
why
they're all terrible.
This is why I did not say anything about the Nightmare movie. I couldn't remember it enough to say.
So the special effects were done by a guy named Screaming Mad George, and that should say just about everything. That is a Japanese guy that does really out there, over-the-top gore effects. And they really hit their mark at number 4. But number 5, it's okay.
We good to move into the 90s?
Yeah, can I guess yours, Jonas?
Move into the 90s. All right, what do you got?
What am I, 0 so far?
Yeah,
I haven't guessed any of your... I think I got it this time. I think I have it. Do you think I have it?
Maybe.
Is your
I didn't go
pick
too crazy.
Is your favorite horror film for 1990 Troll 2?
Oh my god, you didn't get it.
No.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I really love it. Troll 2 is such a Jonas movie.
And you know what? I didn't want to troll. I didn't want to troll with Troll 2.
You like this movie better than Troll 2. Let's hear it.
It's Clyde Barker's Nightbreed.
Oh, okay, of course.
The costume that I wore to the Halloween party years ago was Dr. Decker.
Yeah.
And this is the movie that he originates from. It's a really good one. It's kind of out there in the premise, but the special effects and the costume work on this one are awesome. The creature designs and everything, it's Clyde Barker. So yeah, the same guy that made Hellraiser made an entire race of monster people living underneath a cemetery. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was a lot going on.
Yeah, you found it. That's a comic book I actually have.
I like the Dr. Decker stuff, but I didn't care a lot for like the underground monster stuff. So like it had a lot of things going on, and I liked one more than the other. It's just my slasher taste coming out, I guess.
But the Porcupine Girl was kind of hot.
I don't remember the Porcupine Girl, so probably not that hot.
I can't believe you right now. I don't even know you anymore.
Justin, can I guess yours?
It's pretty obvious.
Is it?
No.
Okay. Well, it's not that obvious.
It's Child's Play 2.
Okay. Well,
so
I also have Child's Play 2. How many times has this...
Well, we're only 2 years apart, and we grew up together.
Child's Play 2 is probably the best movie in the Child's Play franchise.
Few things scared me as a child. Few things. Legit. But I always remember him stabbing from under the bed. I always used to think about that. But that's my mom's fault for, like, just putting that on at her boyfriend's house when I was, like, 4 or whatever, and I was just wandering around and see somebody getting stabbed. And...
That's my mom's fault for trying to stab me under the bed every night.
I kind of thought that's where he was going with that, but...
Oh, man. Okay, yeah.
From stabbing stepmoms to being stabbed by your mom.
The toy store... The toy factory stuff at the end is awesome. I don't know. It's really good.
That was a really good way to go out on that movie too, and a weird way to set it up for the sequel. But my God, the less we say about Child's Play 3, the better.
Yeah. Also, honorable mentions go to Arachnophobia, came out that year, and
still refuse to watch it.
Also,
we had that on VHS.
Yeah, and Tremors came out that year as well, which is obviously spawned a franchise. So that's it for 90 for me.
I would like to go with 91 first. Can any of you guess what my 91 pick is?
I bet I have the same one.
What?
Popcorn.
Yes.
We all went with
popcorn.
Yes.
I felt like... So Jonas, during the pandemic, rented out the movie theater for his birthday and allowed us to be blessed in his presence in the showing of Popcorn, which we had never heard of, or at least myself I had never heard of, and watching it in the theater with all our friends and just having the atmosphere, it was perfect.
It's such a group experience kind of movie too.
So I was really proud to put that on there. I knew you'd be proud of me. It was a good movie.
I'm floored right now that we actually all agreed.
And it was the only one so far.
That's the first one. So that went by quick. Also, Silence of the Lambs came out that year, which is hilarious. Obviously a really big critically acclaimed film, but Popcorn, which probably didn't receive as much critical praise.
I mean, if any, that movie is so under the radar. And I'm just gonna tell one little story quick about it. It's one of the first real horror movies that I actually got to see, because when I was a kid, my mother would take myself and my brother over to my aunt's house sometimes when she was working, so she would act like as a babysitter kind of thing. And she had a room that she had set up for us that was just a little 13-inch TV and two like futon kind of chairs that could get folded out into like a bed kind of thing. And I remember it was on W something or other out of Chicago. And one day it was like a 2 p.m. movie. Just in the middle of the summer, I got to watch like the edited for TV version of Popcorn, and it always stuck with me. Like it was this weird Phantom of the Opera kind of movie, but it was also all about movies. And that's one of the great things about that one. And it's also all about movie theaters.
Early meta.
It was a good watch.
And then we made it even more meta by taking it to a real movie theater.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now, if people just would have started getting murdered in the middle of our screening of it, then it would have been perfect.
Has anybody seen, there's just somebody we haven't seen since then. He's laying in the movie theater.
It's like, no, he went to go get popcorn.
Oh!
I'll be
just
back.
Goes to show, critical praise isn't everything.
No, it is not.
You want to kick off 92 then?
I know his movie.
Alright, what is it?
His movie is Candyman.
Oh, he did not get it.
Oh, you said it was obvious.
It kind of is. Do you want to give it a guess? I don't know if it's going to be your 92.
No, because mine is Candyman.
Mine is also Candyman.
So I know it's not mine. It's not... No, go ahead. I don't know.
Well, I went kind of obvious on this one, but I went more just because I love the cinematography and the art style of this movie. You could rewatch it, like, the acting is just, it's so-so.
This isn't Suspiria, is it?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, okay.
I mean, really, you can't do better for gothic horror that still packs a punch. It still has blood and guts and real scares. Like that point where Dracula has invaded the hospital to come for Renfield and turns into an honest-to-God 8-foot-tall vampire bat. That scene is, like, haunting. Like, he just looks so menacing when he's just, like, pounding up to him on the floor. Oh, man. That and the absolute, like, crap show that was going to kill their first vampire. Lucy was her name, and she had just brought like the 3-year-old, like her baby or whatever, that she had just stolen to go feast on, and they have to like wrestle it away from her. God, yeah, there's a lot of scenes in that movie you can kind of forget and go like, oh yeah, I didn't need to be traumatized by that again.
Sounds good.
Oh, you haven't seen that one yet?
No.
Oh, man.
I haven't either.
Oh my God, I'm giving spoilers away on this thing.
Why do you think we put Candyman?
Candyman is a great movie too, though. There's nothing wrong with that movie.
It's a classic go-to.
And that score is amazing.
I also had considered Twin Peaks Firewalk with me because I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Oh, and it was.
The series I'm back and forth on, but like the movie was the best parts of the series, but in a movie You're making groaning. Jesus Christ, Wendy! I think it's recording.
I just don't know if it's really gonna make it hotter or colder. You know what I mean?
You know, I don't know if it's gonna get hotter, Wendy, but. So that's it for 92, right? We
yeah,
for 93?
If you guys haven't seen Dracula, I don't want to give away any more spoilers than I have already done.
All right.
But it does star Keanu Reeves in one of his probably more hated roles, I would say.
Cool.
We are ready for 93. So this is another one that I'm going to guess I'm going to be lonesome in my pick.
Probably.
But I'm going to go with
hope so.
Necronomicon, Book of the Dead.
That's not an Evil Dead movie.
It is not, but it does have to do with... It's a different version of the Necronomicon, but it's another H.P. Lovecraft-inspired movie, and it actually stars in the... It's one of those... oh, God, what are they called? The movies with the several movies, shorts as one movie. Anthologies. It's another anthology movie, but the wraparound story is actually a character that's H.P. Lovecraft himself questing after the book and reading through it to find these stories, and then by the end of it he's like trying to steal the book and get it away so he can like claim it like a bunch of stories as his own kind of thing.
That's cool.
It's very disturbing in some of the stories, I'll say that.
Justin, what do you have? None?
The greatest horror movie of all time.
Do we have the same one again?
No, I really doubt it. This is a movie that I love personally.
Oh my God.
I love to bring up to Jesse because he doesn't know what love is. It is Leprechaun. Me gold!
Even I'm slightly surprised that you're going with Leprechaun on this one.
Leprechaun is a good movie.
I'm not surprised. I just hadn't realized this was the year. I knew it was going to pop up. It was just a matter of when, you know? So
phrasing, pop up. Is that why we're talking about this? Because Funko Pop has released the new Leprechaun.
You know what? You sound just like the dude that makes those weird announcements.
Oh no.
Well, your future job is...
They do like a joking...
Funko Pop?
No.
Like Can I say mine here?
If it's not Leprechaun, nobody cares.
Well, my pick is a statement on how I don't care about Leprechaun. Granted, I haven't seen it, so it wasn't an option.
You haven't seen Leprechaun?
I haven't seen the original Leprechaun.
Well, now I know what we're doing.
My pick is Jason Goes to Hell.
Wow.
I was close on picking that one too, honestly.
And
for shame.
And in parentheses, I have ... I had to. ... Because it was the only one that I had seen. So, I'm done.
You know what the cool thing about that movie is, though? They retconned Jason to be a Deadite. The person that wrote that movie said later in interviews that he had written Jason as like a Evil Dead inspired demon instead of like what he had been before. Which kind of
is that the cool thing or the worst thing about it?
I don't know.
I think in your mind that it exists is the worst thing about it.
It's a really weird Friday the 13th movie. Jason's not even in Jason's body for most of the movie. And
technically, it's not a Friday the 13th movie because they couldn't get the rights to Friday the 13th.
What?
Yeah, technically it's its own franchise, but...
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's not the same company, but it's the same characters, which, I don't know how they legalese did that.
Well, because they end it with the Jason Freddy tease. I remember now. Are we good for 94, or do you have more to say about Leprechaun over there?
That was 93.
Are we ready for 94, or...
I'm ready for 94.
What was your 93?
My 93 was the Necronomicon Book of the Dead.
Did you say that?
Yes. He went on about it for quite a while.
I was just thinking about Leprechaun.
I started this
jazzed about that Leprechaun.
I started this after a brief intermission by saying Justin's back. Apparently he wasn't.
Alright, well, I'll just jump into 94 with Leprechaun 2.
Okay, well, now we just...
Was that your serious answer?
Yeah, that's serious.
The next several years are just going to be Leprechaun
was
for
Leprechaun
Justin.
2 the Vegas one? Or was that Leprechaun
The Vegas
3?
one.
Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. I thought you meant like the... It's not the
3D.
Vegas one? Like, it's not really Leprechaun?
It was pretty vague. No. Yeah, I remember 3 being probably my favorite out of that series, just because it was so dumb and over the top.
Okay, so on a comment on Justin's movie, this is the only thing I remember from Leprechaun 2.
I know what it's going to be.
I had a friend from school that owned a copy of this movie, and we weren't allowed to watch horror movies, Justin and I, so we didn't have any. We hadn't seen any, really, other than the ones we had secretly watched. And he brought over Leprechaun 2, because there was a girl that showed her boobs in it. And there was a scene where this guy thinks he's going to get lucky with this girl, and she takes off her shirt, and he puts his face in it, and it's actually a fan, and it like cuts his face. You don't see it. You see like the shadow of it happening. He sticks his face in the fan, and it kills him. It's kind of cool, actually.
See?
Boobs aside. But
whoa.
Well,
the boobs were cool too.
Right, but like I'm saying, even without considering that, it's actually kind of a cool scene.
That was the same reason that I watched Pumpkinhead 2 before I saw Pumpkinhead 1.
Boobies.
It had boobs.
Yep, I mean...
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
They were pumpkin-shaped.
Pumpkin tits. Not another TV movie. That's what we're here for, pumpkin tits.
Earlier, I had to refrain myself from saying not another teen movie quotes. I was going to say, I'm appalled. That really upsets me. It was something earlier.
All right, what do you have, Jonas?
We're on 94. I'm going with the good old Delamorte Delamore, or better known as Cemetery Man.
Okay.
I know Jesse has watched this movie because I forced him to by tying him to a chair and making him watch this with Clockwork Orange style lid locks on.
And by that he means he hosted movie night and this was his movie.
And by the end of it, one of our mutual friends, Wyatt, looked at me and went, "Really?
Really, Jonas?" That was great. It adds to the movie now.
It really does.
Just remembering Wyatt be furious at the ending. And really? That's how it ends?
That it is. I will be honest. If you're expecting something that's not going to be artsy and kind of metaphorical, you're going to be at a loss for the ending on this one.
Based on the cover, he kind of looks like Sylvester Stallone.
It's Rupert Everett. For those listening and not watching the live stream that we're making at the same time, it's actually he's showing a picture of Rupert Everett.
Does anyone have a guess as to what mine is, or no?
It was for 94?
Here's a picture of Rupert Everett hanging out with Thomas DeLonge. Not really, but he does kind of look like
He does look like... Mine, I feel like, is pretty obvious. All of these are kind of staple to us as human beings. They're all different picks, but, like, you can see it. Yeah, Justin Leprechaun, you Cemetery Man.
I feel like that was a light stab.
No.
Nothing like getting stabbed on the night shift.
We had to break in somehow. Mine is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which, aside from the original, is hands down the best Nightmare film for me.
Is that the one where the kid tapes the butter knives to his fingers?
There were steak knives.
Wants to like jump off the slide.
It's basically Wes Craven attempting to do Scream before it becomes its own franchise. Like, it's
meta.
very meta. Robert Englund's in it as himself. Like, the actress who plays Nancy, I can't remember her name offhand, but, like, she plays herself.
Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah, like, they're all themselves, and they're being haunted by the spirit or, like, the idea of Freddy in the real world, and it's really cool.
You know what I noticed that recently, and I know I told you about this at work, I never realized it before, and it works into one of your last picks about Pet Sematary. The kid who played Gage in Pet Sematary is also the son in New Nightmare.
Yeah.
I've not seen Pet Sematary.
Oh man, that's a good one. I mean, the new one's, it's okay.
The new one was, all the trailers spoiled everything, so I pretty much didn't want to watch it.
The old one's, it's pretty good, but like he said, it's kind of, you could call parts of it goofy and a little bit campy, but like you were talking about New Nightmare though, that version of Freddy is infinitely more scary to me.
New Nightmare is one of my favorite horror films, let alone of that year. So that was a no-brainer for me. That's all I have to say if you're ready to move on.
Oh, 95 was a good year. 95 was a very good year.
I want to follow that up by stating that I picked one, and then in parentheses I had, it was the only one.
If you picked the same one I did, I'll be surprised that you would say that and sully the good name of the Crypt Keeper with Demon Knight.
It is not Demon Knight.
Demon Knight was glorious. I mean, you got William Sadler as the main shadowy outcast guy that comes into a small town on a mission from God himself.
The mantagonist.
The mantagonist.
But yeah, I mean, the less I say about Demon Knight for those of the people that haven't seen it yet, the better. It's just balls to the wall, action craziness. It's a weird ass movie, and it also stars keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Okay. I like how Jonas's picks all have a theme of, like, you can tell that this is a Jonas pick movie before you even say it. Like, it's just Demon Knight. Of course it's Demon Knight is your pick.
You know, I'm easy to please. You know, sometimes you just need a good cheesy horror movie.
Jelson, what do you got for 1995?
What do you guys think?
I don't know. None?
No, I know what Jesse's going to say for next year.
Oh, okay. Well,
but 95 I'm not too sure on.
So I didn't do this as a joke. I promise you it just made sense. Leprechaun 3.
Keep it going.
I did have excuse me. In my honorable mentions, I did put Candyman, the Farewell to the Flesh, or whatever it's called.
Oh God, I would not give that one an honorable.
Well, first of all,
I haven't seen that.
I watched that on accident instead of the original.
That's right, you did tell me that.
And I think it's better than the first one. But I also think that I didn't have the clouded judgments of people saying it was bad before I watched it. I just watched it, thought it was the first one.
Can I do a Josh Prizer?
That's just an honorable... I went with Leprechaun 3. I'm just saying, honorable mention.
Oh,
the fact that you will defend Candyman 2 Farewell to the Flesh and say that was your runner-up while saying Leprechaun 3 was your pick.
That's the Vegas one.
Granted.
I mean, Leprechaun goes to Vegas.
Vegas has all me gold.
Hit the jackpot.
Fool me once.
Okay, so it is kind of...
Twice.
It is very telling that it's a Vegas story in that all of his gold is tied up in a pawn shop.
Oh, man.
Like, most people in Vegas, he has to try and get his gold back.
Oh, man.
I like when he gives people wishes, and then he gives them, like, a ridiculous... He's like, I want the gold, and then he, like, puts it in their belly.
That's so stupid.
Well...
That's why it's probably my favorite of the series. It's so over the top that they just went straight comedy.
I mean, you guys like The Evil Dead 2, so I just back off me gold.
He's got a point. I mean, it's pretty good.
No, he doesn't. And moving on. My pick apparently is quite the oddball. I picked Species.
Oh, well, more boobies.
Weird sex alien human hybrid creature.
I mean, do you know how much work Natasha Henstridge got off of that role?
I don't.
I mean, she was in everything for like the next 2 years.
Was she?
All his dreams.
I know Matt and Trey the South Park creators were obsessed with her. They would always make references to her and stuff. And again, in parentheses, I had only one. That was really the only pick for me.
Oh, is it starting to rain out there?
Something's going on.
Or were you getting stalked by serial killers, or like
I hope
they're possessed?
I'll get the gun. I'm excited.
What better time to be
like,
haunted by a ghost when
why
they're
get
recording?
the gun when we can stab him? String him up and make him watch Leprechaun.
Can I start 96 then and get this out of the way?
Yeah, wait,
so.
Can we all say it at the same time?
Jonas didn't pick it, did he?
No, I didn't.
You're a sick man.
What is wrong
Alright,
with
well,
you?
the power of brotherhood here. 3, 2, 1,
Scream!
Ah!
It's Scream. It's Scream.
What, that was not direction? Okay.
Scream, there was nothing that was ever going to compete with Scream for me. I do have honorable... You know what, I'll wait till after, because you haven't said yours yet, Jonas.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going with the good old Wingnut production of The Frighteners.
That was my honorable mention.
See,
So,
now, whenever Mr. Peter Jackson decides to make a horror film, at least he just goes full balls to the wall. He doesn't leave anything on the cutting room floor. He puts it all in the movie, as weird as it could possibly be, and even makes a part for Jeffrey Combs. Yeah, that's the movie poster. I just really like Jeffrey Combs' character in that one, where he's just like the very OCD FBI agent that just can't stand to be touched or anything. And then
Is this the bully from Back to the Future?
the bully from Back to the Future? No, that's okay. That's
Jake Busey.
Jake Busey. Yes, thank you.
We met him. Well, I met him. Maybe you weren't there.
The identity guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Isn't
also
that
there.
the, isn't that
Starship
what's in the-
Troopers?
What's in the freezer,
isn't
man?
that the bully?
I haven't...
No.
God, you're going to make me say this on the podcast. I haven't seen the Back to the Future movies.
Shame.
Shame.
You know, it's such a ubiquitous series. Like everyone has seen.
But it's
Back to the
solid.
Future.
It is solid. It holds up.
And
Mostly.
speaking of that, it also applies to Scream.
I mean,
And-
really, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say a lot about it.
I was wrong, by the way.
Well, he's like, I changed my answer.
About the actor.
Yeah,
I
I
just
knew
wanted
you were wrong.
clarification.
Yeah, that's not the bully from Back to the Future. It's not Biff. I mean, I can see the facial features kind of lining up a little bit, but yeah.
Feeling woozy here. All right, let's move on to 1997.
You want to
Jonas?
say it at the same time again?
No, let's let Jonas go first.
So I went with a little movie that's a holiday favorite of mine, and it's called Jack Frost.
Oh, okay, it's not what I thought you were going to say.
I think I have seen part of that.
Jack Frost, the heartwarming story about a stone-cold serial killer that gets so cold, he's frozen.
Is that really the plot?
I mean, I'm going to say it is.
Okay.
I mean, basically, he's on his way to get executed, and the prison transport truck just happens to collide with a truck carrying hazardous experimental chemicals that turn him
To
into
Daredevil.
liquid. And he melts into the snow. Well, he reforms as snow and becomes a snow.
This is it, right?
He's
With Michael
hold
Keaton.
up, the Michael Keaton Jack Frost.
Is that not the one?
No, sir, it is not. Does that look like a horror movie?
What a
poster?
happy...
It to you. It does. He's creepy, bro.
What a happy
notice.
little snowman.
You said...
Justin in silence looks at this picture, looks at me.
Tell me
with
that doesn't look creepy.
with a dead serious face, and he's like, "This the one."
Yeah, the CGI was pretty
they
horrible.
morphed
in that
him
movie.
with him.
Oh my gosh.
You like, honest to God, I always
There's-
thought this was a horror movie.
There's two Jack Frosts.
That's another Jack Frost.
Oh my gosh.
How do we... Like, you can't judge me for this. It looks creepy.
I can't recover from
That
this.
doesn't look creepy to you?
Yes, it looked creepy to everyone. That's why it didn't do anything in the box office. I think it failed.
Oh,
You might have to look up the numbers to really get me accurate on that one.
I
But
hope it failed.
I'm pretty sure that one did not.
It looks equally creepy, equally Courage the Cowardly Dog
You
villain.
probably saw that movie. Like, hey, I'm Snowman. I'm your dad.
It's possible, yeah.
It's his dad?
Spoilers.
Anyway.
It's like the Scrooge story, but he turns into a snowman.
Oh, wow.
Well, at least in my version of Jack Frost, there is snowman rape. So I'm just going to put that
Oh,
out.
yeah, thank God for that.
At least there's snowman, right?
And
That's just cold.
Oh,
Hey, you did see it.
man.
No, I didn't. Was he say that?
I mean,
All
of
right.
course.
He
There's
does?
so many bad
It's
puns in
Arnold.
this movie.
You did see it.
Freeze.
Justin, what do you got?
I
ahead
hope
and-
we have the same thing.
Listen, I'm just going to say this. I had a really hard decision on this one.
Okay, I'm going to speak for him. He had a hard decision between Scream 2 and I Know You Did Last Summer. And he went with Scream 2. But I went with I Know What You Did Last Summer. Was I close? Did you go with I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream 2?
You were close. I went with I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Damn it.
It was really tough. That was one where I was like, of course, Scream 2. And then I had to change it. I'm like, oh no.
I think
Oh no.
I seen the both of them too, but I felt like I Know What You Did Last Summer was it was a lot more unique. If you think about like the sequel or something that's completely original that would make just as many.
Yeah.
I would think that you would almost always go with the original over a sequel. Unless the sequel was like
How many-
Terminator 2 or something.
But how many times have we picked sequels on these lists?
Well,
so
this
many
is true,
times.
yeah.
Except for, I had to pick Jason Goes to Hell. So so those were the obvious two. I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream 2 were both great horror films. Also, Event Horizon came out that year. That's a good one.
Yeah, I was really close to picking that one too, but Jack Frost, man, it's just such a good movie.
And one that I always caught on TV that creeped me out, Mimic came out that year.
I've still never watched that one.
It's like it's a monster flick, but it's like a giant cockroach or something. It's really gross. But I remember that one being decent. And also, speaking of monster films, Anaconda came out that year. So
Do with that information what you will.
yes, but that's all I have to say on that. Are we good to move on?
Let's jump into 98 with me and yours pick, which is Urban
Legend.
But I did just now look it up because I was just curious because I don't remember running into it. And I remember you always loved the movie The Sphere.
Yeah.
That came out the same year.
Oh, see, the lists I went off of didn't list The Sphere. Probably because it's more sci-fi.
Yeah.
But it definitely
That's
had
creepy.
horror elements in it. And
I remember our stepsister was watching that downstairs, and we were supposed to be asleep. And I remember sneaking down the stairs at the eel part, and there's like trapped the
man.
guy in there. I remember seeing that, and that kind of creeped me out.
it's a good movie, yeah. They used to air it on the Sci-Fi Channel a lot. And I have the book. I've read the book. It's a Michael Crichton book. And yeah, it's good. The book's good. The movie's good. It had a lot of big actors in it. Liv Shriver's in it. Samuel Jackson.
But yeah, the actual movie we picked, Urban Legend.
Urban Legend, yeah. Which,
Why do you like it so much, Jesse?
we did a podcast where we talked about our favorite movies on here. And I'm sure I went on about it to some length. Jonas probably hadn't seen it at the time of the podcast, but he's seen it now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I liked it. It's the first time watch. It was enjoyable, and I took a while to try and piece together who it was, but it was kind of funny because of how many other movies have mocked or stolen parts from it. Like Jesse lent me his copy of God, what was that series called with the girls at the college, and they're all like, it's like a horror series.
You're next? Oh, no.
A TV series?
Yeah, it was by the same people. That did
Oh,
American
Scream
Horror Story.
Queens.
Scream Queens, yeah, and they ripped off a bunch of stuff from Urban Legend for that show, like the black security guard that's just
Urban
always.
Legend.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
She was like, she had the same. There's a shot. It's actually in the Urban Legend sequel, Urban Legend's Final Cut, where Reese, the security guard, she pulls beside the main character, Amy, and she's like questioning her because it's at night. Where you going, sweetie? And they
used
did
to do
that.
to each other all the time.
It's a different actress, but she's a security guard in Scream Queens, and they like redid that scene.
I would say less ripping off, probably more paying homage.
Yeah, but it's a comedy. Yeah, if you've seen that movie, you're like, they're doing this scene again. It was great. But there were a lot of movies that year. That was a hard one. Like you mentioned, The Sphere. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer came out that year.
Was that fat Jamaican dude?
Bride of Chucky, which isn't everyone's cup of tea.
Is that even worth bringing up? I thought that was hated.
The Faculty came out that year, which is a big one.
The Faculty changed how I get drinks out of the drinking fountain for the rest of my life. I have to make constant eye contact with Jesse and act like I'm lifeless every time now. We always do that in school or anywhere else. Even when I'm at work, most of the time I'm getting a drink and I just stare at him. And
Did you say yours yet? You
No,
haven't.
I did not.
Go ahead.
And mine is Bride of Chucky.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, God.
Is it?
Yes.
See, Spiral also came out that year, which we recently watched, and I wasn't sure how you felt about that one exactly. But
which
the
one?
Junji Ito one.
That's true.
Junji Ito.
This is
Junji
what's
Ito.
funny with the Wikipedia list and stuff that we were pouring over. I don't know if I noticed that one on there as I was going through, but I will say
Doesn't change your answer?
no, because Spiral I watched once, and having I own the manga that it's based on, and having that
It's
source
better.
material versus that, it's not even close.
Okay.
They hatchet jobbed that one to try and piece a movie together, and I appreciate that they even tried.
Did I introduce you to Junji Ito, or did we just talk about it and then we happened to both be watching it around the same time?
It was that, because my first introduction to it was actually a very short story that was at the end of the manga Gyo. That was the one with, you've probably seen small pictures of it here and there with the mountain with the man-sized holes that people are drawn into. This is my hole, and when they come out the other end, they're just like weird monster stickmen-shaped things. It's creepy as hell.
We could probably make an entire podcast just on our Junji Ito talk.
Oh, yeah. But I'd have to let you borrow one of the newer books that I got so you could read through it, then we could talk about it. But Bride of Chucky. Yes, I love this movie because they just stopped caring. They went, you know what? Let's make a Chucky movie, but let's just make it as just unapologetically cheesy cornball. Let's just make an old school. This is what makes me think of 80s horror. Let's just do something.
But it's 98.
Let's just do something that we know is going to work.
I guess, yeah.
And I love the scene when they're at the what is it? The hotel that is like the honeymoon suite, and while Chucky and Brittany, I think it is.
Tiffany.
Yeah, I suck.
Doesn't
Chucky and Tiffany are having their honeymoon. They end up murdering another couple that are on their actual honeymoon and stealing the honeymoon suite for them to get nasty in for the rest of the night.
Consummate the little doll from the Interpol song.
There's a lot of There's a lot of good things with that come with that movie, but there's also a lot of
bad things, like that woman's voice.
I just remember
you really don't like her voice.
She kind of sounds like Salad Fingers.
That's a stretch.
It's almost like they didn't know how to conclude it, and they just like the way they just killed characters off. I just remember the friend that's like over the top gay walks in front of oncoming semi or something and explodes, and it's like, well, I guess that character's just written out now. Let's go.
Well, I mean, he did do a big dumb by just like not looking at what he was doing on a highway.
Always look both ways, kids.
Really, even when you're driving, not enough people do that.
I always remember the line that the cop uses at the beginning about them. They're gonna look more doped up than Christian Slater at a Christmas party or something. Like, okay. So, and then I do like the ending where they kind of get Tiffany and Chucky bickering with each other like a couple in order to get escape. That's clever.
Moving on to 1999.
Well,
I have
real quick. I did want to also point out for 98. I think that's the year Ringu came out. I have Ring, and I'm pretty sure it's not the remake. It's the original.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there's a movie called Deep Rising that also came out that year. That's like takes place on an ocean liner.
I can visualize the movie cover from that. It's like the jet ski blasting out of like the ship. Yeah.
And like the antagonist is like some sort of Kraken-esque creature that invades this ocean liner, and it's like a low budget horror flick that's actually really good. I wanted to mention that. You can go ahead with your 99, Justin.
I think mine's actually somewhat controversial.
Okay.
But I just went, personal favorite on it. Do you have any guesses as to what it might be?
Well, I know it's not mine because I know you hate the movie I picked. I'm going to say that you went with either House on Haunted Hill or Deep Blue Sea.
What do you think, Jonas?
I think you might have went Idle Hands.
So, I went with Lake Placid.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
I tried to give that a rewatch recently.
I haven't watched it recently, but I loved it when I was younger, and I used to watch it over and over. Loved the ending. The old lady's just bringing the little goats out there to sacrifice them. She's got all the other little alligators.
Yeah.
That was one that I just really enjoyed watching growing up. I really liked Lake Placid.
That was one that I remember liking growing up, but I never really had an urge to go back to it.
It was a tough try. I attempted to rewatch it. I got about half an hour in, and I had to nope out.
Well,
the plot was there, but one of the characters was so damn annoying.
You're like the alligator.
Not doing. I didn't even get to see the alligator. I got out before that even happened.
I mean,
it's not even in the first half.
Sometimes it's what you don't see that's scary.
Okay, but I gotta point out the old lady that he was talking about feeding goats to the alligators and stuff. That's Betty White.
Is it?
Yes,
it's been a long
White.
time. That makes it better. I mean,
the first time you meet her, she's literally confessing to murder, saying that they haven't seen her husband in a while. She's like, "Oh yeah, I killed him." You killed your husband. Oh yeah, beat him over the head with I forget what she said. Buried him in the garden. Oh, if you don't believe me, go dig him up.
It was Tiger King ahead of its time.
Well, I mean, yeah, kind of.
Jonas, what do you have for 99?
For 99.
Do you have the same thing I have?
No, because you haven't watched it yet.
Okay, what do you have?
I have Audition.
Oh, that's your favorite.
I've seen a lot of those too.
For being, a first-time watch, that one was just, it sticks with you. And not in a good way.
Like acupuncture?
Oh. Yeah, you got it. He had to look up for the title on the movie poster website that he was looking at. Yes, it's a story about an audition for a girlfriend that a businessman is too busy to date, so he just needs to find the right one right now. Well, he found the right one, in a manner of speaking.
Is it good? What's the
This is a movie that's notorious for being a tough watch.
Because it's gross.
Granted, it came out in '99, so it might be a little outdated now.
The effects and stuff aren't as top notch. But
Or we have human centipedes, so we've seen some stuff.
But this is a movie that would make the Marquise de Sade blush. It's going to have stuff in it that
some torture or something.
Some pretty out there kind of torturous kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And it may
It's an Asian horror film.
Japanese,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
It may or may not even be happening at all. It's also a bit of a mindfuck movie, so you don't really know what's going on. But that adds to the enjoyment. There are many schools of thought about what this movie actually is. There's a lot of debate still going on about this was happening. No, I think this was happening.
Okay.
Interesting. Do you think that I would enjoy that one or no?
You could give it a try. I know with you currently being on the dating scene, it might scare you away from things for a while.
I'm dating in 2022. Nothing can scare me at this point.
He's got a point. Yeah.
Do you know what mine is?
He said Idle Hands, which I actually overlooked, so I'm assuming that would be...
That's not mine.
Is that because it goes into the realm of parody?
Remember, I said I know you don't have mine because you don't like this movie. Mine goes... I did debate it with House on Haunted Hill, the remake, for a while, but it's hands down has to go to the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah.
Is that...
I don't know if I watched it.
The Blair Witch Project?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
I
I just assumed you did because you don't like found footage, generally speaking. I know you hated Cloverfield.
You just made me remember something.
Okay. Something for now or something for later?
Something for later.
Okay.
I agree, though. The Blair Witch is a really solid choice for 99.
Yeah, Blair Witch. Like, it's pretty tame as far as horror movies go. It might be one that I lead the kids in with, that we watch together for movie night, because it doesn't show you a bunch of grotesque things. It leaves it up to your mind to put together what's in the woods, but it also does a good job at setting the atmosphere and guiding your mind to these things. And for the time, the marketing, everyone knows the story about Blair Witch, so that's my pick. Like I said, House on Haunted Hill, though, I'm really nostalgic about that one. I like it. I know it's not a big...
One's just a little bit cheesier than some of the more serious entries.
But some of the monsters in House on Haunted Hill are genuinely freaky.
Oh, yeah.
And like, they have... Like, their whole face is just a mouth. Crap like that.
We've once again come full circle to a Jeffrey Combs movie. He's once again in that movie as the doctor. That's the one that's murdered at the opening.
Yeah, that's how I knew him as. I'm like, oh, like I know this guy from House on Haunted Hill, so maybe I'll check out Reanimator. But Idle Hands is good. Sleepy Hollow also came out that year.
That was a really tough one for me too, because I wanted to pick Sleepy Hollow because I have really fond memories of that one. But as just the better movie in my opinion, Audition had to take it. But yeah, I love Sleepy Hollow and Idle Hands really.
And if you don't mind, I'll lead in on the next one because I feel like mine's pretty obvious. It's another one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Final Destination. There's not a lot of wiggle room there for me. So,
I also had Final Destination.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's...
Even if there was competition, you think about the impact that Final Destination had. Like, that's a movie that will forever, in the realm of horror, think of, like, those opening scenes and all of them. Were so epic.
Is it a horror movie?
Fine. Noah at work keeps arguing that it's not a horror movie. That's not a horror franchise.
That's a documentary.
They're action movies.
That aside, like I said, the opening scenes on those just like the impact they have. It's hard to it would be hard to pick anything else just because it's so epic.
And
so
there is competition for that year, but Final Destination was just such a game changer. So
let's hear what Jonas has to say, and then I'd like to hear what other competition there was.
Can I try and guess? I haven't been successful yet, have I?
No, we've only agreed on one, but that was because we were all on the same page on that one. But if you think you know it,
because we were all manipulated.
I do think I know it, and again, I might have to kill myself right now if I get this wrong. Just saying. If you never see this episode, is it American Psycho?
No.
Oh my god.
And you don't know how much I struggled with this one.
Oh my god.
Because I've owned both of these movies since I was probably 13. And I loved American Psycho. Like, I had a VHS copy of that. But this movie was my first DVD I ever owned. Which is saying a lot because it's been a long time since DVDs have been out. But it's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust.
Of course, it's a movie I've never heard of.
It's an anime, to be fair.
Okay.
But it is a full-length horror film about a vampire hunter that's been hired to track down a noble's daughter who's been kidnapped by one of the oldest vampires in existence who's super powerful. So if you try to come up against this guy, 9 times out of 10, everyone's going to die. But this guy is just like, the OP, main character, so he's got to go save the day kind of thing. But it's also really good action, and the storyline is actually pretty decent for a bad anime kind of movie from the 90s. But, I mean, late 2000s by the time it came out.
Yeah.
I really liked it because it was also what I used to test my stereo systems back in the day.
Because this movie?
Yes, because the opening of it was so well done for technically audio quality for a surround sound system. it would have things happening all around you in this city part at the beginning that you could actually test the speaker system with it.
Alright. Justin uses that stepmom video he was talking about to test his surround sound.
And the beauty is there's so many, you get a different one every time.
Some of the other movies that I had made note of that came out that year, as I mentioned, American Psycho, Hollow Man came out that year.
Classic.
Pitch Black came out that year.
Not so classic.
Pitch Black is pretty good as a standalone.
I think so too.
Jonas had made a reference earlier. If anybody put the Scary Movie movies for their favorites for any of these, I'm out. Scary Movie came out that year alongside Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th.
Two of the best movies to ever live.
They're parody films, but they're two of the better parody films.
I actually kind of liked Shriek.
Yeah.
Just because it was trying to be its own thing.
Scream 3 came out that year. I know it's the low point for the Scream franchise, but it's still a Scream movie. Urban Legends Final Cut also came out that year. But again,
Anthony Anderson.
Yeah. But again, Final Destination, you know. And if nobody else has anything else on the 2000 films, I think that's a good place to wrap up part 1.
Can you believe we just did 20 years of horror? My God, man.
21.
21.
21 years of horror, and Leprechaun fit in there 3 times.
I mean, he's a small guy. Of course he can fit in there 3 times.
Oh,
that's
my
what she
God. No.
See, now,
we almost made it out of here without a That's What She Said.
I'm trying to make an alcohol joke because we hit 21, and you guys are slipping in the That's What She Said.
Hey,
Jesse did a weird thing with his hand, and it reflected on the back of the fish tank, and I seriously thought there was some sort of decrepit alien thing, creature like walking on the back of that, and I'm like, what kind of lizard snake do I have in here?
Well, time to go. We had Justin on the podcast for the first time, and nobody got murdered, so that's good. What makes you think it was murder? Next time, things get serious because the 2000s are my horror years.
Definitely amps up. I've got a lot more notes for the 2000s for honorable mentions. There's a lot of tough decisions, so it's definitely going to only get better.
If we thought 2000 was bad with Final Destination and American Psycho and all those, it definitely, the honorable mentions lists go up and up, so.
If you'd like to know what my 2001 pick is, I'll tell you. Next time on The Knife Shift.
It's session 9. Goodbye.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, genius.
I'm curious what was my 2001 pick.
I'm just kidding.
That's not going to be one that you guys are going to.
I'm going to lead my entire list. I thought about deleting everything we've been through, but
I'm excited for you to put this up. I wonder if anyone's going to listen to it.
Nope.
I mean, we all will. That's definitely going to happen at least.
That's good, and I don't have to rush this. And
I think that went really good.
Yeah, I think we did a good job with that one.
I think that it flowed. We were all patient with each other for the most part.